June 8th, 2014. This is Spingola Speaks, and this is Deanna Spingola. I'm coming to you from the beautiful, sunny suburbs of Chicago. I really appreciate you joining me today on RBN. Their website is republicbroadcasting.org. Please visit spingola.com for a list of future guests and relevant links. Please also visit spingolaspeaks.wordpress.com, a site that one of our listeners created and maintains. During the program, email your questions or comments to comment@spingola.com. Feel free to join others in the chat room by clicking on the chat room button on my website or by visiting spingola.chatango.com. We will be taking questions and comments from the listeners after we open the phone lines at 800-313-9443. And we will probably do that in the second hour. In February 1967, Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, per President Lyndon B. Johnson's instructions, promoted John S. McCain, Jr. to a 4-star admiral and assigned him as the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Navy in Europe. This newly appointed admiral was the father of Senator John McCain. On May 23, 1967, Deputy Secretary of Defense Cyrus R. Vance instructed his subordinates to contact Captain William L. McGonigal to head his ship, the USS Liberty, for the eastern Mediterranean Sea via Rota, Spain. Admiral McCain, now directing operations from his office in London, would assume the responsibility for the special tasks that the ship and its crew would be involved in upon the ship's arrival at Rota. Johnson promised continued support and help in reopening the Straits of Tiran, previously closed to Israel by Egypt. Israel was already developing a nuclear program in the Negev desert, but also wanted additional military assistance, including 100 Hawk missiles, 140 Patton tanks, and 24 Skyhawk jets. John P. Roach, an avid supporter of Israel, wrote Johnson's speech regarding the Straits of Tiran, which he delivered in May 1967. Johnson had many Jewish advisors and friends, including Matilda Krim, whose first husband was a Bulgarian Jew and a member of the Irgun, a terrorist group. She became a dedicated gun-running member of Irgun, headed by Menachem Begin, prior to 1948. She was also friendly with the Stern Gang. Krim's second husband was Arthur B. Krim, a New York attorney and head of the United Artists, and a close advisor to Johnson and an avid Zionist. Krim was the finance chairman for the Democratic National Committee and ran the President's Club. Johnson's fundraising apparatus that held a $1,000 a plate dinner in New York on June 3, 1967. Arthur Krim built a huge vacation mansion next door to Johnson's Texas ranch. On June 3, 1967, the USS Liberty was trolling in international waters off the coast of the Gaza Strip, where the ship was to engage in an extended independent surveillance operation in the eastern Mediterranean. Israel launched a long-planned war against her Arab neighbors at 7:45 a.m. Sinai time on June 5, 1967. On June 8, 47 years ago today, the Israelis assaulted the USS Liberty with torpedoes, rockets, white phosphorus, cannons, and armor-piercing bullets. The Israelis used napalm, a flammable liquid or jellied gasoline, to turn the Liberty's deck into a 3,000-degree holocaustic firestorm. 34 Americans were killed and 171 others were wounded, one of which died later from his wounds. My guest today is Philip F. Tourney. The author of What I Saw That Day. Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. Phil's website is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. Phil, welcome. I'm sorry, every time I talk about this, I just get so upset and emotional. Well, it's just what I do.
Well, Deanna, you're such a great patriot, and you hold the key values of being an American citizen and weeping for your fellow Americans that have died in vain. And
exactly.
I just found out moments ago, unfortunately, of the passing of your brother Phil, serving his country, and died of Agent Orange, which was a agent that the United States government knew would kill or damage many Americans that came in contact with it, and used it anyway.
Exactly.
So that's what this country will do to its heroes. And Deanna, when I joined the military, along with other young men and women who proudly wore the uniform, we took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, the crew of the USS Liberty, friends like you, great friends, by the way, which are on the radio and that talk out about these things, which I know is very hard for many of us to do, are trying to get out the word that what happened. And what happened is this. The United States government, under the direction of Lyndon Baines Johnson, McNamara, and John McCain, deliberately set our ship up to be sank by the Zionist state of Israel and blame it on an Arab state, more than likely Egypt. And we were within minutes of a nuclear holocaust, which I'll get into later. But it is our duty, just because we're not in the military anymore, is to report war crimes and criminal acts and an act of war on the United States government, in which we are doing. Folks, I reach out to you and swear to you, I swear to my Maker, I'm not lying, or neither of my shipmates are lying, but the government of the United States is covering up one of the most significant cover-ups in this century to allow a foreign state to murder Americans on the high seas in our government. I'm getting something here.
Well, it's a terrible thing. I believe that the U.S. military serves the corporate interests, and I'm just appalled at the way that the U.S. government treats and exploits the youth and the strength of this nation, which is in people like you. How old were you when you joined? Phil, are you there? What happened to Phil? Well, we know that Phil got a new headset yesterday, so I'm not sure what happened, but it is terrible, the things that the government does. Okay, we're going to pick this up on the other side. We will be back in 3 minutes after a word from our sponsors. We are back. This is Deanna, and our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. That's Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. His website is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. Hope you will visit that website. Okay, Phil, we lost you right at the end, and so let's pick it up from where you left off. And we were talking. Well, you had mentioned my brother Phil, and that the U.S. government does not appreciate its citizens in any way, shape, or form, and does not hesitate to either try to send them to the bottom of the Mediterranean, or absolutely kill them with tons and tons of Agent Orange, so that they die later on.
Absolutely, Deanna, and it's a horrible thing our government does to their fighting men and women, and they do it with impunity, and they know the consequences, but they could basically care less. And I mean, I hate to say that about the country that I was born and raised in and loved dearly. Both my brothers served in the military in Vietnam, and of course I did my duty, as many others throughout the centuries have done. But they love this country. We all love this country. And I don't hate my country now. I love my country. But I am reporting to the senators and the congressmen and the president, to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, to anybody that will listen, and I've done this over and over again along with my shipmates and friends and people like you, to get the word out that, hey, we are eyewitnesses to cold-blooded, premeditated murder committed on the high seas by the Zionist state of Israel. And it is your duty as our servants in Congress and as the President of the United States. The White House is not your house, sir. It is the people's house. And when you don't listen to the people, you will lose that house. And whoever wants to get in your position and get in that house and serve as president better take their oath seriously, as the people that take the oath join the United States military, and tell the truth. And the truth is, our government set us up to be murdered, and they just quite couldn't get the job done. There were over 850 cannon rocket holes in your ship, over 5,000 armor-piercing bullets, napalm, white phosphorus, as you mentioned, torpedo boats, 3 torpedo boats shot 5 torpedoes at us. On and on and on. This attack went on as long as the attack on Pearl Harbor, Deanna, and we got a message out within 15 minutes: under attack, need help immediately. Captain Tully sent aircraft off Saratoga immediately. Captain Engen did send aircraft off America, which some people say he didn't, but we have evidence to the contrary. He did send aircraft to come to the aid of the USS Liberty. At that moment, McNamara got on the phone and recalled the aircraft. I said that return to base. And Captain Tully, he went to a higher authority, Admiral Geis, and Admiral Geis confirmed recall the aircraft. And under the command of one of the mightiest ships that sailed the seas, the USS Saratoga, he sent another volley of aircraft. And this time, President Johnson got on the phone and he said to Captain Tully, you recall those GD airplanes right now. I could care less if every sailor aboard that ship goes to the bottom. I am not going to embarrass my ally, Israel. Now, Deanna, the jet aircraft that were attacking our ship were unmarked. We didn't know who the heck they were. So if we didn't know who they were, how did Johnson know who they were? It's very simple. He set us up to be murdered. The Israelis thought it would be a turkey shoot, and it wasn't. They did everything they could to destroy and kill every man aboard that ship, shooting at our life rafts, for God's sakes. We only had 3 of them left. In fact, I cut one of them off the side of the ship myself. It inflated. They blew it right out of the water. We were going to put our most seriously wounded in those life rafts, Deanna, and I hate to say this, but it's just heartbreaking. Some of these men were so badly wounded, and their flesh and bones were protruding, their skulls cut away from their brain matter. You could see gray brain matter. It was so hard to look at these fine men and then them suffering like they were suffering for almost 18 hours and with no help from our government. And how they lived, I'll never know, but you couldn't barely look at them, and you felt, I mean, here I am, the walking wounded. Yes, I got wounded, but nothing compared to these men. Mentally, yeah, I'm a basket case. I got post-traumatic stress, and how do you say that? How do you get post-traumatic stress? Well, it is, I guess the fear of God puts it into you. It's something you never forget, and it is a disease. And I didn't know what I had for years. I didn't talk about the USS Liberty for 15 years because I was afraid to when Admiral Kidd ordered me personally, along with 5 other shipmates in sick bay, when he threw off his stars. Don't you ever breathe a word of this to anybody after his speech that he was such a good guy and he was our daddy and he would take care of us and just tell us what happened. He got red as a beet. And we trusted this guy like he was our father. We really did. He put his stars back on, got red as a beet, and said, if you ever tell anybody about this, including your own shipmates, your parents, anybody, I'll make sure you end up in prison or worse, and slammed the door and left in a rage. And here I am, a 20-year-old petty officer. All of us are about the same age. We were scared to death. Here we are. They set us up. Then we knew to be murdered. And we were, I guess, in a trance trying to figure this out. And to this day, I'm still in that trance. I can't figure it out why our government would bow to the wishes of Israel. And I think me and my shipmates finally figured it out for real. They wanted the footstep in the Middle East to be completely all Israel, all the oil, all everything. And they were going to destroy Egypt with nuclear weapons. And again, as I said earlier in the show, this is a fact. They were within 3 minutes of nuking Cairo. And you can ask Thomas More. Of course, he's dead now, but he left a heck of a legacy. Ward Boston, he was on the Board of Inquiry. He recanted everything that was in the Board of Inquiry and said it was nothing but a pack of lies, that he was ordered to get back to Washington with none other by the orders from John McCain, Admiral John McCain, Europe, John McCain's senator's daddy. So he had a heavy hand in this role. And 47 years later, they're still scared to death of Israel. If they don't go along with what Israel says, they lose their job. So here we got 34 men dead, and nobody cares about them except people like you and others that care about America. And the government certainly doesn't care about them. They have a small ceremony that the crew puts on at Arlington every June the 8th. And they won't allow reporters. They won't allow this. They won't allow this. They won't allow the Navy band. They barely allow taps. It is disgusting, demoralizing, and even on the gravestone where they have 6 men entombed, they don't even know who's in there, really. I mean, They don't. I hear the music.
All righty. We will be back in 3 minutes after a word from our sponsors. All righty, welcome back. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. His website is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. All righty, we were talking about, the fact that they're really, I have not heard any mention today on the news. Of course, I haven't turned on the news, but I bet we will not hear one single reference to the USS Liberty today. I would be willing to bet some money on that. And I'm not a betting person, but I just know that nobody's going to mention it.
Deanna, you're right. There was a couple small things, but nothing of significance. I looked on my computer this morning every day for what happened, this day in history, and it had something about Abraham Lincoln. I forget what it was about that happened on June the 8th, but nothing about the USS Liberty. And Kat did find one other site that had mentioned the USS Liberty, but as far as the mainstream media goes, we are taboo because we know who runs the mainstream media.
Exactly.
The very same people that tried to murder every single one of them aboard the USS Liberty.
Sure. And what they wanted to do was blame Egypt for the attack on the Liberty so that could start, literally World War III in the Middle East. And but Egypt was certainly not prepared to have a war, did not intend to attack Israel, and it was all initiated by Israel. They are the ones that were prepared for war, and they were going to make it look like somebody else did it. Oh, they were the poor victims, right?
Oh, absolutely, and you said that perfectly, Deanna. The deal is in Washington, and this plan, this very diabolical and deceitful plan wasn't hatched out 2 days or 3 days before the attack. It was hatched out a year, or 6 months, or a year, even more than that, to get us on the spot, sink us fast, and blame it on a foreign government. So this
they put everybody in place to do that, like
sure
the senator's father, and he has been busy in Washington covering this up ever since. He's as much of a scoundrel and a scumbag as his father was. Imagine an admiral wanting to kill people, everybody on the USS Liberty. Imagine that this person actually acquiesced to do this. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, and thank God for Americans like Admiral Starring and Admiral Moore and Captain Tully and Captain Ingen and the crew of the USS America, crew of USS Saratoga, crew of USS Massey, crew of USS Papago, and especially the crew of USS Davis, which came aboard our ship, or right beside it, right next to it. In fact, when they pulled up to our ship, Diana, it was like a marriage. It really was, and those ships barely touched. That's how skillful these seamen were, and the captain, of bringing that ship close to our ship so they could get definitive care and get the wounded off. And we all did that. I was in damage control, but I can't say nothing but high praises for the crew of the USS Davis, the ones that stayed with us. In particular, one of them, his name is Larry Broyles, who's going through the ringers right now. And just as a quick footnote, covering up on the USS Liberty, Mr. Larry Broyles received the Combat Action Ribbon and the Presidential Citations for his actions aboard USS Liberty June 9th, 1967. We were still in a war zone, and he and his fellow crewmen, and along with me, plugged up the hole or shorted it up the best we could. And he was awarded these ribbons, and then they were taken away. Taken away, yes, they were. And we're trying to figure out what's going on here. It's a slap in the face. It's a dirty deed. The man deserves everything that he is supposed to get, and it's literally broken an unbreakable man, a man of courage, a man of honor, just one of the nicest human beings I ever met then and now. And look what the government's doing to him, saying that he doesn't deserve these ribbons when they were already given to him. Is that a heartbreak or not? I feel terrible for the man, and I'll do everything I can for him, but that's just the way it works. Because, go ahead.
I think ribbons are important, but I think the fact that he was courageous and did what he did, nobody will ever forget that. The people that he helped, they will always remember his assistance and his courage. And he did the right thing. And a ribbon is significant, yes, but his actions were more significant and are more long-lasting in the lives that he touched and the people that he helped. And it's amazing to me that the ship even stayed afloat, given that that help was recalled and that you didn't get immediate help. It is absolutely amazing that the ship did not go down with all the holes in the side. I mean, it's just it's a miracle. It really is.
It is a miracle. God saved us that day. I mean, the only person out there that was on our side that day was Jesus Christ himself. And I might add that you're spot on in what you say about the ribbons, and I happen to believe that, but they are significant to him because they were taken away, and it's just another slap in the face because he was involved with the USS Liberty. And I might add, Deanna, the men that came aboard that ship were so horrified that some of them were weeping. They would rub their hands over the rocket holes and look in amazement, and then got right. I mean, they got right to work, did what they had to do, but they just couldn't believe what they saw, and they were told to be quiet. As many people were told to be quiet because they wanted this covered up so badly, and they went right to work. Within 7 days, Deanna, from the attack till the end of the Board of Inquiry, took 7 days.
Wow. To
completely get rid of the USS Liberty. And if you get a hold of your congressmen or your senators or anybody else, the story is they've had 13 or more investigations. Some say 10, some say 13. Never happened. The government of Israel, mistaken identity, identified the ship as Egyptian horse transport, the Air Quasir, which was half sunk in some port somewhere, and it was shut up and it was done. And that's what you get back from the United States Navy and every senator. It was a mistaken identity, and sorry about that, but get over it. Is basically.
Well, the ship was well marked.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was totally well marked. They knew who it was. They knew what it was. They knew it was surveillance. And of course the Israelis were murdering in cold blood a lot of Egyptians that they had captured because they didn't have proper facilities to house prisoners of war. So they were just lining them up and shooting them in the back. And of course the USS Liberty knew that because that was a surveillance ship. Is that correct?
You hit the nail on the head, and I'll tell you how sophisticated this ship was, Deanna. It was the most sophisticated intelligence gathering ship in the world. I mean, it was the state of art in 1967. In fact, we could bounce signals off the moon, and they would be back to National Security Agency within seconds. Now, this is 1967 we were doing this. We had computers in computer rooms as big as ice boxes and bigger that were cooled down. I mean, that thing was full of high-tech computers. We also had a spy in the sky. If you could see the shoreline, you could pick out a gnat on an elephant's rear end. That's how sophisticated that spy in the sky was. So they were afraid that we had it on film, which we probably did, them murdering these innocent detainees or prisoners of war, if you may. Rather than house them, they murdered them and bulldozed over. And that's exactly what happened.
All righty. We are going to a quick 3-minute break. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back. This is Deanna, and we will be be taking calls in the second hour when we come back from the break, and our top of the hour break will be in about 12 minutes, and then we come back at 6 minutes after the hour. So be prepared to call in with your questions or comments at, it would be 3:06 Central Time. All righty. Our guest is Bill Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8, 1967, Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. His website is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. And you were talking about the men who came on board and saw what they saw. And whenever I read about this, whenever I, when I talk about what the things that they use, I can also envision that carnage, and that is why I get emotional, and I would get emotional. I'm just a very sensitive person, and I can't stand to hear about anybody dying, including animals or torturing. I mean, this is not what we're here for. We're not here to destroy each other. That's just it's not inherent within us to do this to other people. This is psychopathy. It's psychotic behavior.
It is very, very well put, and your heart and your voice speaks volumes of what a courageous and wonderful woman you are, Deanna, and I'm certainly proud to be on your show to tell the story about the USS Liberty, and again, thank you for that opportunity. And I did want to mention the crew of the USS Liberty aren't out for vengeance, but we're out for justice, and justice should prevail. You remember the Nuremberg trials? They were held, the responsible criminals and war criminals.
Well, we probably have a different view of that, of the Nuremberg trials. I believe that the Nuremberg trials were just probably like the commission that was set up after this event. So I think we'd have to disagree with the reason behind the Nuremberg trials, which I covered in my recent book, which was released a week ago. So, but anyway.
No, I reason that, and I use that analogy, not because it is a fact. I use it as a stepping stone to get to the truth.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because it was done so fast and furious, and they hung or shot the criminals that are so-called criminals, quote unquote. And I know where you're coming from, Deanna.
Bless your heart.
They got them taken care of, and they investigated. They said what they were going to do and all this other stuff. But everybody hears about the Nuremberg trials, how important they were, and how they got it done, and so on and so forth. Now, call it whatever trial you want to, but every congressman, sitting congressman and senator from LBJ to now that didn't lift a finger to help us. There were a few: Adlai Stevenson, Paul Finley. And,
isn't he wonderful?
Yes, he is. And Pete McCluskey and wonderful men like that. They should be tried for treason. Now, we've told these guys about cold-blooded, premeditated murder personally, and they know about it. And a shipmate of mine, Gary Brummett, was on the show yesterday, Your Voice Counts, on this radio station, RBN, and he said, Phil, one of our survivors, and he had to keep it confidential because he didn't have permission to say who he's with, but I know who he's talking about. But he was talking to a former vice president, and the vice president said that everybody in Washington knows exactly what the hell went on, but they're not going to do anything about it, period. And the reason they're not going to do anything about it is because the power of the Zionists on our country. And they're heading us down the primrose path, and we're not going to have an America if we don't shed the Zionist state, get rid of them, let them, get their own money, and they got plenty of it. They got more than we do, and fight their own wars. Don't have the United States fight their wars for them, and quit taking orders. Now, here we got the Wall Street bankers. Who owns all of them? Who owns all the movie studios? Who owns all the radio stations, excluding RBN and a few other ones that really do tell the truth? And thank God for the internet, and before they shut us down or do whatever they're going to do, the truth will get out. But folks, remember this: if they will murder men in Vietnam, World War II, World War I, Korea, USS Liberty, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, I hope never Iran, they will kill you. And when the Zionists put a bullet in the back of someone's head, or put a gun to the back of someone's head and tried to pull the trigger, they just didn't do it to me or the crew of the USS Liberty. They did it to you, Deanna. They did it to your family. They did it to your grandkids. They did it to your parents and everybody in America. And the sooner Americans figure that out, the better off they're going to be. Exactly.
And you mentioned the news. And what did the people in this country hear about that event over there? The people in America were told that the Arabs had started the war and attacked the poor, defenseless state of Israel, and that act could have erupted into World War III. And so here the Arabs got they got a bad rap to begin with, and it's still going on to this day. And people are still believing that, those terrible Muslims, they are so bad. And of course, 9/11 was blamed on them. So you're right. These people are absolutely very persistent, and they have a lot of people in their pocket. They've paid off a lot of people, and that includes ambassadors and politicians. And we know that the Israeli lobby in this country is very, very influential. And in fact, all of the politicians have to pass muster in AIPAC in order to even run for office. And if somebody is inadvertently put into some sort of position, they can also be retracted just if Israel says, hey, we don't want that person in that job. And it's amazing the way that they operate.
Well, I'll tell you, you and I got the same brain. We're just in different bodies.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's the truth. And, the terrible part of it is it can be stopped. It can be stopped in its tracks if the people of this country, our elected officials, would take heed to their oaths and respect America more than they respect Israel. And you're talking about terrible consequences for the Palestinians or the people in that area. These poor people, their olive trees are being taken up. They're simultaneously being tortured. They're thrown in prison. They're in an open-air concentration camp. The settlers throw dirty diapers in their only wells they have for clean water. They go in and defecate in their refrigerators and what little they have. They rape their children and their wives, and they think it's funny. They absolutely think it's funny, and it is disgusting. And the money that our country gives these people is to me, it's a waste of money. It always has been. And all it does is participate in the killing and the torture of innocent human beings. And America is paying for that. So by doing that, we're just as guilty as the Zionists are. And it's got to stop. And I don't know how we can stop it, but hopefully with radio shows like yours and mine and others on RBN and others, we can do something to help America.
Okay, great. All righty, we are at the top of the hour. We will be back at 6 minutes after the hour, and we will take your phone calls at 800-313-9443. second hour of Spingola Speaks. Our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. Phil's website is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. And we will take your calls at 800-313-9443. And I know that, okay, we got a bunch of callers here.
Deanna, can I say one thing, please? May I add one thing first?
Sure, go ahead.
This website is John Godesco's site, the Tiny URL site, tinyurl.com/USS Liberty, and it's John Godesco's site. I don't want to leave him out. I'm glad we got a lot of callers. You got a great show. Thank you, Deanna.
Oh, well, thank you so much. All righty. We got to take the first ones. First one is Frank from North Carolina.
Yes. Hi, Deanna and Phil. I have been listening to the show, and I've heard quite a few shows over the years on RBN about this subject. And I've called in to a couple of those, and I've tried to make people aware of this situation out here in the world, and of course nobody really wants to hear about it. And after they get me off the phone, they will say something like, "Oh, by the way, what caller Frank was talking about before the break, we looked into that and we found out it was a case of mistaken identity. It was just an accident." And of course, everybody just believes whatever they hear. But I wanted to make a point.
Frank, we're not going to say that.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know you're not. Yeah, I know RBN's not going to do that.
Okay.
But, this thing about the Zionists, I see the Zionists, they're the hardcore cutthroat. They're like military part of the Jewish community. But, every time I turn around and look at a local paper, I don't subscribe to one, but, every time I turn around, literally every other day or every at least once or twice a week, there's something in there about some commemorative or some memorial or some survivor of the Holocaust, the poor Jews. There's some new movie I just saw in a local paper yesterday that's coming out. It's called The German Doctor, and it's about the evils of the German people and the Nazis and Spingola in Argentina, and every time I turn around, there's some new movie about the poor Jews. And all of the Jewish community, as far as I can tell, they revel in this victim mentality, where anybody who criticizes anything they do, they just point at you and say, "Oh, you're evil. You can't talk about us." And I'm just sick of it. And I don't see any signs of it going away. And that White House, I don't consider that to be my White House. I'm 48 years old. I served in the Marines, honorably discharged, and I don't see this government as ever representing in my lifetime my interest. And I really don't have any loyalty to this establishment that exists. It doesn't serve me in any way or any noble interest of any kind. And I do appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate the subject is a very horrific thing what happened.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your phone call, Frank. All righty. Let's take David Lewis, Commander.
This is David Lewis.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I was a research officer on the USS Liberty. I had 195 of the 295 people on there. And 28 of them that were killed that day worked for me. I have a especially heavy heart about Chief Lynn and Lieutenant Pierce. They both came into my office before that last deployment and turned in their retirement papers. And I spoke to them. I said, "You're leaving me with no continuity. Would at least one of you sign up for one more deployment?" They said, "For you, Commander, we'll both go." And they were both killed in the attack. Lieutenant Pierce's wife turned to alcoholism. They lost the children. The entire family was destroyed. I was the one that Admiral Geist told about the planes being recalled, too. I just have a very heavy heart on this day every year.
I'm sorry. I can certainly understand why. And we all try and do the best in the positions that we find ourselves in. And certainly you were doing that. And this must be a very difficult day. And I'm so grateful that you called in to share your thoughts.
Deanna, may I add something?
Please, Phil.
Commander Lewis, like you say, he was in charge of most of the men aboard that ship, and he was in the torpedo spaces when the torpedo went off. And he got the torpedo blast right in his face, and it burned him, and he was blinded from that point until they got him on America and opened up his eyelid with a scalpel. So how in the world Commander Lewis ever made it out of there in that torpedo space alive is beyond me, only with the help of God. But Commander, you did your duty, and everybody respects you dearly, as I do. You're a great man and a fine officer and gentleman, and I know everybody aboard that ship enjoyed your company, especially the men that served under you. And I greatly appreciate you calling into the show, Commander, and I wish you and your family all well. And I know the feeling in your heart.
Everybody within 20 feet of me was killed instantly. I don't know how I survived. A temporary bulkhead wrapped itself around me, and I was blessed with 30-year supply of burnt Navy paint, but I was the lucky one.
Well, thank goodness for what you did, and thank goodness you're here. It's amazing that you are, and thank you for your phone call.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Okay, take care. All right, let's take Captain Kaminsky, who is also from the USS Liberty. Captain, welcome.
Oh, welcome. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to read a prepared statement. I want to thank Phil and all the USS Liberty crew for their bravery in defending this nation in June of '67. On this special 47-year anniversary, myself and Don Tagler, a USS Liberty survivor and cryptologist, my NARA researcher, a commanding officer, will reach the Mount Everest of knowing what really happened in June '67. By law, Don and I have 16 FOIAs, 3 appeals, and 1 now CIA mediation with a NARA attorney. I will get to the truth. I am a Jewish American War veteran with Jewish Army spouse with documents at the USS Holocaust Museum. I have told Israeli Ambassador Oren, I must and I will find the truth, no matter. End of statement.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Captain. Did Phil, do you have a comment?
Well, I want to thank Dr. Bob for all he's done, and he's going through a rough time right now with his service and what he's done for this country and his health, and what he's given up, having no children for serving his country with a disease that was put in him that unfortunately made him unable to bear children. And that's a very heavy burden on your soul, Captain, and I know that. And, you being Jewish and you being so ardent to get the truth out, that speaks volumes of the character and the honesty and the belief in America that you have.
Indeed.
And I certainly appreciate it.
And I do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. All right, let's take Richard Weaver, who is also a Liberty survivor. Oh, okay, we're going to keep you over the break. We're going to a 3-minute break. We will pick up on the other side of the break after a word from our sponsors. We are back. This is Deanna, and we have a bunch of callers lined up. Please feel free to call in with your questions or comments at 313-9443. And we were talking with Richard Weaver. So we just got you on the phone, and we had to go to a break. So thank you for holding over the break.
That's fine. I'm Richard Larry Weaver. I was on the fantail, and I was hit by rocket and cannon fire from an unmarked jet, and I received over 140 shrapnel wounds. I had all of my ab muscles blown out and 2.5 foot of my colon, and I had a phosphorus fire on my flesh around that hole that I put out with my own blood. And I'm just very thankful to be here because of the damage control team and all the other ones on the Liberty that showed just what that saying of "don't give up the ship" means. There should be a photograph of the USS Liberty there, reaffirming of just what that truly means. And I put it all out there for all those that were murdered that day. We don't forget you, ever. And I will never forget the rest of the crew. And I've thanked them before, but I cannot thank them enough, because it was not just medical, but it was also physical things that were done to keep the ship afloat. I have something I would like to read, if it's okay.
Of course, please.
I title it "No Man Left Behind." No man left behind. Washington deserted the crew of the USS Liberty June 8, 1967. Washington called back American fighter planes that were sent to help us. The attack lasted about as long as the Pearl Harbor attack. Washington is still deserting us. No man left behind. Obama, step up and right this terrible wrong and let the crew of the USS Liberty testify what really happened June 8, 67. We were threatened with prison or worse if we talk. President Obama, don't you desert the crew of the USS Liberty too. No man left behind. Washington took the word of the enemy, Israel. No man left behind. Richard Larry Weaver, DAV, combat wounded veteran, survivor of the USS Liberty, June 8, 67. And I'd like to comment on some of the statements I made in there that I saw on TV, how Washington and President Obama embraced the parents of that soldier the day they got released. We have waited 47 years. We have been ignored by Washington for 47 years. They don't even want to recognize that USS Liberty existed. Washington and Obama, this is your chance to right this wrong and embrace us that are still living from the USS Liberty. You guys were not in office at the time, but you are in office now, and you have the power to do this. And I have been appealing to America through Facebook and other means for all Americans to get angry, very angry about this, because this was the start. This was a big turning point in our history when the USS Liberty got deliberately attacked by Israel, and they killed at will, and Washington turned a blind eye. And Israel has been killing at will since 1967, right up to today, and killing babies, killing, kids and women. I mean, and Washington still turns a blind eye. I cannot understand this other than the Holy Land holding this special place, or just the infiltration of the Israelis in our governments and lobbies. But I don't understand how the political arena works, and I don't intend to find out. But all I am asking And I'm asking America to back us. And so far, we have had good response by Facebook. To get behind the Liberty survivors and give us our chance to testify. I have been in pain every day and night for 24 hours a day since June 8, 67. I have had 34 major operations, all related to my wounds, June 8, 67. I still have over 60 pieces of shrapnel in my body since June 8, 67. I have both knees are completely reconstructed, and both shoulders are completely reconstructed. I have 1 foot by 1 foot mesh holding my stomach together. And there are other men wounded, on the Liberty. And when you embrace the parents of somebody who just got freed and won't embrace us, you can't have it both ways, Washington. You can't. You can't recognize one Marine, Army person, or whatever and turn your back on us any longer. You have got to give us our justice and our time to testify to the truth. The only thing you have to lose is face. I realize that. But aren't we worth that? If this man was worth other men giving their lives to try to get him out, give us our time. This is the time, right now. And please, America, back us. We're not doing a poor me kind of thing. It's just how can we honor so many men and women, which we do as a crew of the Liberty, who have served and are still serving. I thank you. But at the same time, why is it that what we gave, and we about gave it all, and some did give it all, are just ignored? And that is the biggest insult that you can ever do to any person, is to ignore and act like they don't exist.
Oh,
Deanna,
Larry, I'm so sorry. Yes, please.
Yeah, Deanna, I want to add a couple things to what Larry said. I knew Larry when he was, before he was wounded, and a stout young man, no doubt, a wonderful swimmer, and somebody you'd want on your side in a bar fight, for sure. Now, Larry, when he was wounded, even though his life was in mortal danger, he protected another sailor by covering him up with his own body.
Oh, my goodness.
So that tells you the character and honor of Mr. Larry Weaver. I hope Larry understands what he means to me and what our friendship is and what we've been trying to do over the years. And with all your operations and all your strength, the reason you're here in life, God kept you alive, Larry, to get the truth out. And my friend, you just did a masterful job by doing it. And God bless you. And I'm so happy that you're here and enjoying the beautiful sun of Hawaii.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that so much, brother. We are all brothers. Yes.
Larry, I appreciate you also. Thank you so much. Thank you for your phone call and for sharing those wonderful thoughts. Okay, we're going to a break. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Alrighty, welcome back. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. The website is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty, which actually takes you to home.roadrunner.com/tilde/Gadusco/Liberty. and it's a wonderful website and full of wonderful information. All righty, let's take another caller. Phil, did you want to add something before we take another caller?
I did. I just wanted to add that Larry, I got an email. Larry wanted me to read this for him. It's very hard for him today. And he's a very emotional person, and with the wounds he took and everything, I just begged him to come on the show. Kat got another email to him because he needed to tell his own words as only he can tell them, and God bless him for that. And I might add that Commander Lewis wrote a wonderful letter for Larry Boyles off the USS Davis. I know this has nothing to do with Larry, but I don't want to forget this because Commander Lewis is a good man and a powerful man and a very respected man. So that's all I wanted to add, Deanna.
All righty. And thank you, Larry, for calling in and for sharing your thoughts. I know that must have been very difficult. You must be a superhuman person to have suffered the way you did, and thank you so much. All right, let's take George. George, welcome. This is George Sukol.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, and you?
Well, I'll tell you, I heard Larry's broadcast on Friday on the rabbit hole. And it brought me back. It's the June 8th and June 9th as USS America tried to respond. And I went right to the compartment on the ship where me and 10 other guys were sitting. It was without all the wall lockers and everything. It was only about 12 by 20, and there was 10 of us in it, and better than half of it was taken up with wall lockers and maintenance equipment for the aircraft. And he kept saying 17 hours. Well, I spent about 13 or 14 of those hours in that space with crammed with 10 guys wondering what in the hell was going on and why we hadn't increased speed to get to the Liberty. I was on the America from a shakedown cruise all the way through the Liberty event and after. And on a shakedown cruise, we went to high speed, and we were told it was 57 knots. That's 64 or 65 miles an hour. When the Liberty was attacked, we were probably doing maybe 20 knots, which is about 22 miles an hour. We never got the authority, apparently, to go any faster. If we had, instead of that 17 or 18 hours, we would have been there in under 9.
Oh, my.
And we got to think about that all the way there. Why the hell are we going so slow?
Right.
And before that, for about 2.5 hours, I was sitting in the cockpit of an A-4 Skyhawk with a nuclear weapon under my butt, believing we were at war with Russia. And the only thing I heard for that 2.5 hours was that the anti-submarine helicopters had landed, refueled with their engines still running, and reloaded with sonar buoys, looking for the sub that was chasing us. We had no idea it was it was Israel that did it. We thought with the reaction of Russian, right? It was on. And then I found out that while we were en route, a couple of guys in the ordnance took in. They wrote "To Cairo with Love" on some of the 2,000-pound bombs on the planes. All I can tell you is I was totally confused when we pulled alongside the Liberty, and you could see the blood on the decks, and we were bringing wounded on board, and I was so shook up I couldn't cry, I couldn't swallow. I don't know. Those guys stayed afloat. I can't understand it because I was right up close and personal within 150 yards of them. These guys are my heroes.
Indeed. Phil, your comments.
I wanted to make a comment about George and his faithfulness and his big heart for the crew of the USS Liberty. And George takes it very personally that it's his fault that he wasn't allowed to do his duty and get there and try to save us.
It was our job.
I know that, George, and I certainly appreciate it, and I appreciate all the crewmen do, everybody. But, dear friend, it wasn't your fault. You didn't get there in time. That was the higher ups' decision. So, please don't take that personally. You did all you could do, and you're doing all you can do now. And I thank you. The Liberty crew thanks you, and RBN thanks you, and just take it easy and just keep on doing what you're doing, but never, ever, ever take it personally. And without your support, George, we wouldn't go much further, but we certainly appreciate it. Keep on writing and keeping people involved. I appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you something. With this VA thing, the American Legion's got this thing going where they're doing town halls and they're doing a thing on the what do you call it? To get vets into the system or whatever. But they made a mistake because on Tuesday they also said the media is going to be there. So I spent the last 2 days putting up information packs. Guess what? If there's media there, they're going to hear from me.
Good for you.
I know that. I might add, Deanna, if you don't know already, the American Legion higher-ups, now I'm not talking about the members, I'm talking about the higher-ups, the Judge Advocate General of the American Legion, Phil Underdunk, hates the USS Liberty, thinks we're a bunch of whiners, and we deserve what we got.
Oh, my gosh.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep, that's the American Legion for you. I'm not saying all of them, but that's Phil Underdunk. And if you want to give Phil Underdunk a call at the headquarters of the American Legion, I would give him an earful because he is disrespected. Not only United States servicemen, he is disrespecting his creed of the American Legion, and he should be kicked out on his ass and set down the road as far as I'm concerned. And it couldn't happen at a faster time. Tomorrow would be too late. How about the next 5 minutes?
All righty. Gentlemen, I'm sorry, we do have to take a real quick break. George, you're welcome to stay over. We will be back in 3 minutes. Welcome back. It's Deanna, and our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. The website to visit is tinyearl.com/USS Liberty. And I believe we have George still with us. George,
yes.
I thank you so much for calling in. Please continue.
I've just got one short thing to say. There's an organization that gives out an info pack on the USS Liberty. It's called If Americans Knew. And they just came out with another booklet, which I'm sorry I don't know the name of it offhand, but it's about what happened with the American Legion. I am going up and presenting my resolution to the Legion at the state level, at the state convention, and I will have at least 20 or 30 of those left, and they will go to the people in charge, and let's see what the state does with it. I can be a real pain in the ass when something bothers me, and this bothers me.
Of course, and it should. Of course it would bother you, because you have a character, you have a conscience. Of course, this bothers anybody that has any sense of value for other people, for human lives. Of course this bothers us. So thank you, George, for your efforts.
Let me get off and just say I'll be there with you right until the end. Thank you.
And we do appreciate Allison Ware of If Americans Knew. She's terrific. All righty. Our next caller, I believe, is Eileen Fleming, who is the founder of wearewideawake.org. And she's also a columnist for veteranstoday.com. Is that you, Eileen?
Hi, this is me, and thank you very much, and I'll go quick. In 2012, I ran for U.S. House District 5 of Florida, but I flew to Virginia in September to attend the 2012 Liberty Political Action Conference, because I can be a real pain in the ass, too, and I paid an extra $300 for the opportunity to attend a private meeting with Senator Mike Lee, Jim DeMint, and Rand Paul, who we know is running for president. And I asked these three senators if they would support establishing every June 8th as USS Liberty Remembrance Day. Lee just remained silent. Paul gave me his politically correct advice. I should not focus on old news, but we must focus on old news when it is affecting our policies of today. And Senator DeMint admitted he was stumped. He didn't even know about the Liberty. So this is what we've got in Congress, and they still haven't spoken about it, and they're not going to unless we get in their face. These veterans have been through. We've heard for this great show. It needs to be heard by all Americans, but it's up to us, we the people, to step up and take this torch. There are two petitions out there people can sign, and one is connected with If Americans Knew, and it's Honor the Liberty Vets. It's honorlibertyvets.org/help. And investigate the attack on the USS Liberty, a petition by Joe Meters. I'm sure if people Google investigate the attack on the Liberty, they'll find that one right up. And Friends of the Liberty, it's Honor Liberty Vets. They can probably get it at the If Americans Knew website.
Bless you, Eileen. And Eileen is also the producer of 30 Minutes with the New.
Oh, that's a whole other story.
Sure. And 13 Minutes Well, thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you for that great show. It needs to be heard by all Americans, especially, we're looking for another president. They all need, every single candidate needs to be asked about establishing it. We need a Liberty Remembrance Day because the American people don't even know about it. So we've got to put it in their face.
Thank you. Thank you, Eileen. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's take Ron, who is also a Liberty survivor. Ron. Okay, do we have Ron? Okay.
He'll call back, hopefully.
Okay. Let's take John Cadusko. John?
Hello, Deanna. I'm not a survivor. I was transferred off the ship about 5 weeks before the attack by Israel. Jim Ennis assumed all my duties when I was transferred. Jim later wrote the book Assault on the Liberty. I just wanted to say hello and tell Phil and the guys what a tremendous job they're doing in telling the Liberty story. For many, many years we couldn't talk about it. But today, guys, every day more and more people are learning about the Liberty story. You guys are doing a terrific job. And say hey to Larry Weaver out there in Hawaii and Dave up there in New Hampshire. And just good luck and best wishes. And we'll get out of here. We'll see you down the road. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for your phone call.
That was John, my mentor and friend. He's one of the finest sailors you'll ever meet, one of the finest men. He came up from a white hat, and made it all the way up to the distinguished rank of lieutenant, and is a supporter of the USS Liberty you can't believe. And my hat's off to John, just a wonderful man. Wonderful man.
All righty. Next, Stan from Illinois. He is also a Liberty survivor. Stan, welcome. Okay, so already Stan must have dropped also. So we don't have any callers on the board here. Let's see if I'll scroll down here. Okay, let's scroll down. Kat?
Yes.
Hi, how are you doing?
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, Phil.
Hi, Kat. How are you doing?
Good. Ron Kukl got dropped off, and Dan Bird from Illinois. Hopefully they'll just call back.
Dan, okay.
I have a little thing I want to read here for the survivors, little message, if that's okay?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. This is an extremely important request to all who might have any information on the USS Liberty attack, to whomever would oblige to come forth and give the Liberty survivors, their families, and America a vital piece of the truth to this so unjustly vicious, murderous, deliberate attack on these men of the USS Liberty by the State of Israel on June 8, 1967, an attack which is known to be covered up by so many, including a government that is assumed to protect its citizens, and military, a government that was assumed to be trusted. On Sunday, June 8th of this year, it will be 47 years since the brutal attack, and 47 years for so many that continuously relive this horrific attack. 47 years to suffer the physical injuries, many which were so severe that the pain never goes away. 47 years later, many are still in need of therapy, both mental and physical, and some who are still in need of surgeries to try to relieve even an ounce of pain received during the attack. One of the Liberty crew members has gone over, I believe, over 36 surgeries because of his damaging and agonizing injuries. One cannot imagine the trauma and suffering that these men have endured. And the time has come that we help these men with every breath we take to bring this story out and bring the truth forward to help them finally get their justice. Many have died without seeing justice, and they died knowing that they were denied their voices being heard. Families of all of these men have also suffered greatly because 47 years ago, on June 8th, mothers and fathers lost their sons, wives lost their husbands, children lost their fathers, and never to know their grandfathers. These men are all heroes and deserve to have the truth be told, and no matter who it is that has knowledge of this truth or any vital information that could bring out this betrayal of these innocent men of the USS Liberty, they need to be also a hero and stand up and step forward, be afraid of nothing or no one, speak to America and to the world before they cannot speak their truth any longer. That's it.
Thank you so much, Kat. We are at the top of the hour. We do have callers lining up. We will take more callers when we come back at 6 minutes after. Stay with us. This is the third hour of Spingola Speaks. This is Deanna Spingola. And our guest today is Philip F. Tourney, Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. Please visit the website, tinyurl.com/USS Liberty, and purchase Phil's book at Amazon. Alrighty, we have quite a few callers here. Ron has called back, so let's take Ron.
Thank you, Deanna. I've never had to run the gauntlet trying to get on a radio program before like this one. And I'll tell you, I've never been so elated as to have a busy signal smack me right in the face every time I try to call. I love it. And for those out there that think everybody else is calling, get off your butt and call. That is what's going to make this program go, and it's what's going to make the truth about the U.S. Liberty get out there. Get off your rear. Call in. I'd like to say something about Phil Tourney, because he never says anything about himself. I met Phil a lot of years ago, and he contacted me first, and he came up from Fort Collins, Colorado, and we did a thing about the Liberty in front of the Lions Club in Sheridan, Wyoming, at the Women's Center in Bighorn, Wyoming. We had no props. We had nothing except me and Phil. We told the story to the Lions Club, and from there, him and me have worked together for so long I can't remember. And it's gone from there, little Bighorn, Wyoming, to where we're at right now. And I've got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you think you're doing this country any favors by just sitting here and listening and not calling, you're not. So, Phil, I'm going to I'm going to embarrass you just a little bit. As long as I've known Phil, and we probably wouldn't have never gotten along on the USS Liberty, because Phil was an engineer and I was a CT, and it seemed like nobody got along in that area. But when Phil came up here, I didn't know him at all. What I've noticed about Phil in the last, 40 years or so, the man has never asked anything from anybody, and he's always gave. The names he has had to stand up to, the names he's been called, are simply not true. I've known this man for a long time, and he would give you the shirt off of his back if you needed it. And a couple, 3 days ago, I'm going to jump back and forth here because I know Phil's going to comment. A couple, 3 days ago, a professor that's writing a book about the USS Liberty asked me if I didn't think it was strange that the attack happened no more than 2 or 3 minutes after general quarters drill. And I told her, I said, I guess I never gave it a thought. But I did say that we were at our most vulnerable right after general quarters drill. Everybody's kicked back. Everybody's saying, hey, it's all over, and let's relax. So what better time to attack? Phil, why don't you give me some comments?
Well, Ron, thank you for your kind comments. I appreciate it, and right back at you. You've done a lot for the USS Liberty, and your prayer yesterday was very heartfelt, and it brought everybody to tears. But, Ron, the attack was calculated. It was all set up just to be done exactly the way it was. And, we were laid back. In fact, I was in the starboard gun mount. If I would have left there a minute and a half or 2 minutes before I did, I'd have been killed along with Skolak and and Thompson. So, yeah, it just it was all calculated, ready to go. It was drawn up on a board many, many years before the attack. And I might also add, Deanna, that Ron was in the torpedo spaces. He took the brunt of the torpedo, and I'm going to let Ron tell this story because it's very evident that there is a higher power. And Ron, this is your story. Please tell it.
Thank you for opening the door, Phil. I appreciate it. I knew you might. Over the 1MC was the loud cry of prepare for torpedo attack. I was the supervisor in the area where I was working, and my desk was probably probably 15 foot away from all the other men. And this is, they came over the 1MC, the ship's loudspeaker, to prepare for a torpedo attack. I looked around, and these men were all sort of milling around, really not knowing what to do because we'd already done what needed to be done. The hatches were closed. We were ready for whatever might hit us. About 5 to 6 seconds before the torpedo hit, a voice hit me, and this is not a lie. I know what happened. It came from somewhere, from inside maybe. Get down. Didn't pay a whole lot of attention to it, but probably just seconds before the torpedo hit, I was shoved gently to the deck. Men died all around me. I came out of there with a scratch or two after I got up to the top of the ladder, although I'd injured my back recovering the bodies. And I just want to say that you can call this whatever you want to, but I'm telling you the truth. This happened to me just seconds before the torpedo hit me. I was pushed to the deck, and there was a loud voice came to me and said, get down. I'm going to leave the rest up to the two of you, if any of you got anything to say about this. But it was divine intervention. I will believe it as long as I live, and I do believe God saved the USS Liberty. I believe it with all my heart. Thank you, Deanna.
Thank you, Ron, and I believe that you did hear what you heard, and I believe that God had a hand in saving that ship.
Amen.
Okay. Phil, do you have any comments before we go into Larry?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Deanna, that Ron has worked his rear end off on the USS Liberty and its efforts to bring out the truth. And unfortunately, Ron lost his entire family because of his stubbornness to continue on with trying to get the truth out about the USS Liberty when his ex-wife, that works at the VA, by the way, called him a nut and so on and so forth, and it was more than he could take. They ended up getting divorced, and you know how divorces go, but Ron's a strong man. He bounced back. He still doesn't have his children, but he has a new, beautiful wife, Connie. And also, on a different, on a different note, I want to thank Kat Faber before I forget. Kat Faber was brought to us by a good friend of ours, Larry, and Larry lives in Mexico, and Larry Thorne is his name, and he brought us to Kat, and she's been with us now for the last 7 or 8 years. Her beautiful song and music, and so thank you, Larry, for bringing our angel to us, and thank you, Kat, for sticking with us. Without you, we couldn't do Your Voice Counts. By the way, folks, that is, you can join Your Voice Counts on Facebook and also Friends of USS Liberty on Facebook. And that's about all I have to say, Deanna, on that.
Okay. And thank you, Kat, for calling in the last hour. That was, loved your thoughts. Okay, let's take Larry Broyles.
Hello.
Larry. Hi, Larry.
It's great to be on this show, and excuse me, I feel like Ron. I'm very elated to here this board has been the whole time.
Whoops, Larry, I'm sorry. We do have a 3-minute break. Please hold on over the break, and we'll pick you up on the other side. I'm sorry I wasn't watching the clock. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Hey, welcome back. This is Deanna, and our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. Please visit the website tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. And I believe that this is not just an isolated case. This is a very overt case of just exactly how the government views the military. And in fact, just let me share a quote from Henry Kissinger. And he said, and I quote, "Military men are just dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy," unquote. And that is the way that the government views the people who give their all. And it's just disgusting. Absolutely just awful. Okay, Larry. Larry Broyles, you were on the USS Davis.
Yes.
Correct?
I was one of the 20-man team that boarded the USS Liberty in the early morning hours on June the 9th. We had run about 36 to 39 knots all night long getting to them. And once we came up on them, we could tell that they had probably a 10 to 15 starboard list, meaning that they were hit on the right side, the starboard side, with a torpedo, and the hole was about 40 by 40 overall. And we came alongside, and the rescue team that I was a member of, we boarded the Liberty, and we all can witness to the horrific damage, the carnage. We was from stem to stern on the Liberty, and I don't know how it stayed up except for the will of Christ. And we still had to throw stuff overboard to keep the ship lighter because it was still sinking when we came aboard. I believe it was like a day or so after we got aboard, we had to stop and shore the bulkhead before we sank. That meant that we were put below decks where this bulkhead was ballooned, and there were some Liberty crew members, including the Oil King, which was Phil Tourney, and all of the Davis team, and a few of the USS Liberty crew. We were locked in, and if the bulkhead had given away, we were all expendable. We were there so that we would give the survivors some chance of getting off and being rescued by the USS Davis. The USS Davis was the first ship on scene, and we saw firsthand everything. And we were given the warning of not saying anything, but to my knowledge, none was ever contacted about the attack at all. But I'd like to say a very hearty and humbling, grateful appreciation for Commander Lewis's words of supporting me on what I did on the USS Liberty. And after hearing you speak a while ago, I know now why you are such a great man. Thank you very kindly, Commander, and thank you, Miss Dana, for giving the USS Liberty survivors a chance to speak. So one of these days they will receive justice.
I hope so, Larry. And thank you so much for your phone call. Did you want to say something, Phil?
Basically, all I wanted to say to Larry was good luck and smooth sailing, and may all good things happen to you, Larry, in the coming days. And I know you'll keep me in touch. God bless you, you and your beautiful wife on this Sunday, and talk to you in a few days.
Great. Okay, thanks, Larry. Okay, our other Larry Weaver, has called back in. Larry, welcome.
Yes, I don't mean to taking up.
Oh, don't worry, Larry. Don't worry.
But I'm gathered together a little bit better now, and just one or two things I'd like to bring a point to is very quickly. I was on the bow and was getting off watch and walking back the catwalk, and this plane that looked like a bucket of bolts to me, very dark gray, came by, and the co-captain, I had his window open on the plane and smiled, and his teeth were very bright to me. And I waved to him, and he waved back. And as it passed behind the starboard wing was a big Star David. So they knew we were there, okay? Yes. That puts that to rest, because that is a fact. And I felt very relieved because I knew they were an ally, because we could see the smoke from the war going on. You know, even in an international waters, the smoke was billowing up that we could see that stuff was happening over there. The second thing is when Fred and I were caught on the fantail, and I would, be helping Fred as he helped me later after I saved his life sort of during the attack, and then after I was hit, I could only use my left arm and left leg. If he wouldn't have come out, and he got me to sick bay, so he saved my life in return. The other thing is that between each strafe, and it was either 5 or 7 that I came out, I was looking which direction the plane was attacking so I could move Fred over to the opposite side of the offset. And sometimes it was frustrating because the American flag would get in the way that I couldn't see which direction they were strafing, so I didn't know which way to, where to put Fred. And anyhow, them saying no flag was flying. Yes, every time that I come out, there was a flag flying. I understand they shot down, I think, 2 of them. But anyway, that was proof enough to me that the flag was flying. I mean, I was only probably 175 feet from the flag itself, vertical, and a little bit horizontal. But anyway, this is before I was wounded, and then I come out too soon, and the pilot at the apex of the dive saw me, and I saw him. It sounded like an impossibility, but believe me, it happened. He went straight aft. He cut off the normal attack that they were doing. He had to radio the other planes that he was coming up the middle. Otherwise, they ran head on into each other. I got Fred behind a big motor that was for the laundry and screamed to him and to stay and, not move. And he agreed. And then I went out and looked for a place to get cover. And there was a ship's cleat there. It wasn't too big, but I got in the field position. And before I closed my eyes, I looked up and they had put up a brand new holiday flag. And during a chaos like that and hard, it's amazing how I found beauty in that. The American flag looked so beautiful against the blue sky of the Mediterranean. And then I closed my eyes and waited for hell's horror. And I didn't have to wait long. And the other thing I wanted to mention is Ron Kukul when he was saying, divine intervention. Well, I don't think I've shared this. Maybe we just, found me, and maybe reunion 1 or 2 shipmates, but I hit the wall, and my first marriage of 24 years was sacrificed, and then I got very suicidal. And I had a handful of 300 milligram doxepin. And I mean, they are powerful. And I was just going to end it.
Larry, I'm sorry to break in, but we do have to take a commercial. Please feel free to stay over if you wish. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Philip Tourney, and we had Larry. You were just in the middle of telling us your deep despair, and your wife had left. Terrible.
Well, the marriage, you know, I was not Larry Weaver for about a year and a half, and I just took off. It was June the 6th, and I just had an illegal firing of a place that I was able to work by a boss that hid on a farm during the Korean War so he wouldn't get drafted or found. And that's a different story. But anyway, what I want to say to Ron is, yes, I believe about your divine intervention because I was very suicidal, and I had a whole handful of 300 milligram oxygen pills, and those are familiar with that. They're very powerful, and I was going to down them all. I had a glass of water ready to go, and I was standing there, and all of a sudden I locked myself in the bathroom, and all of a sudden I heard this voice, you know, very deep and very matter of fact. It just said, "How dare you?" And I'm telling you, the hair just stood up in my back and neck and whatever. And I threw them down in the toilet and flushed them. I went over to the mirror and I looked right in my eyes. And I said, "Yeah, how dare you? How dare you after all the men that risked their lives on the Liberty? How dare you after all the work of the surgeons, the medical team, the corpsmen? And then last but not least, how dare you, Richard Larry Weaver, all the effort that you made to survive and to be here. Take it away." And I never thought of it again. So yes, Ron, I know that was the same voice. I just wanted to get that to him because I know because when I was in a coma and you know, I don't want to drag that out because I know you have other callers, but it's inspiring what I felt in a coma. I don't know if you want to hear that or not.
Well, I think I totally believe that you heard a voice,
yeah.
And he saved the people, a lot of the people on the USS Liberty, and so you were.
Well, you know, you know what's amazing is the one reunion. It was funny. One reunion. You know, usually I'd say a few words. Asked to say a few words.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, my shipmates and you had touched on this. I think it was that something about being a super person, kind of person, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Kat sent me a note, and she said, "See, you are Superman." Well, my shipmates, knowing how badly I was wounded, and then how I sort of kept coming back to each reunion and not looking like it because I worked hard at it, not to look wounded. But they nicknamed me Superman. One particular reunion, I had a Aloha shirt on, and I was pointing at the crewmen at the grand banquet and saying about everyone had PTSD and stuff, and you know, go after that because you are suffering. And I said, everyone here and the ones that are not here, I said, you are all Supermen. And then I unbuttoned my shirt and I had a Superman shirt on. I said, if you're Superman, then I'm Superman. That's what I told him. I don't know if Phil was there or not. But thanks for the kind words, Phil. And, yeah, we will be buddies, you know, till the end. You know, we are all bound by, actually we were all bound by the blood of the Liberty. That just goes beyond friendship. So thank you again. And I don't want to, you know, take any more time from other callers.
Well, thank you so much, Larry, for calling back. All right, let's take Gary Brummett from, he's a USS Liberty survivor also. Gary?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, That Superman, that was at 2002 reunion in Pensacola. I remember very well Larry taking off his shirt, and he had the Superman thing on underneath it. And I think he got...
You took off your shirt, you had Superwoman on it.
No. And I ain't going to tell them about you getting the two ladies drunk on wine either, so let's don't go there. There could be children listening to this. Larry also brought something to the table one time that I want to mention. I had great admiration for our captain. I still do, Captain William McGonigal. I can't really imagine the pressure this man was under after that ship was attacked. Normally in a situation like this, heads roll, and it's usually from the top down. But the skipper was, I think, under duress, and he was forced to be less than honest in his testimony in regard to what happened. Larry brought this out in 2005 at a reunion there in Washington. We were at the Army-Navy Club that night for supper and a gathering, and Larry got up and spoke about this. The next morning, Captain McGonigal's daughter, Sandy, we had been friends for many years, and we had went outside, or she was outside smoking at the Hotel Washington. I'd walked out, and I told her, I said, darling, I said, I've known you a long time. I got a question I have to ask you. I said, what Larry Weaver said last night, was that true? And she looked at me. She said, yes, it was. Said Dad told us years ago that he was unable to be honest. That at some of his questioning, I only wonder what kind of pressure this man was put under, as far as that goes. But I have something I would like to go back to, and I'll try to be very brief. Elaine Fleming was on a while ago, and she mentioned the different politicians and about bringing up a Liberty hearing, and that went nowhere. I have to tell this story. I told it yesterday on Your Voice Counts with Phil and Ron Kukul. I'm not going to mention the name of the crewman nor the Vice President of the United States, but one of our crewmen in 2006, I believe it was the year, he called me quite excitedly one night about midnight, and if you ring my damn phone after 9 o'clock at night, it better be an emergency. And he told me he was in a social setting and that he had met a past Vice President of the United States, and he was introduced as a surviving crewman of the Liberty. And he went on to state to the Vice President, he said, wouldn't you say that this is one of the most covered-up events of the past 100 years? The Vice President told him, he said, in light of the position I held and the positions I currently hold, I cannot say that myself, but I do totally agree with what you have said. But then he went on to add, he says, all of official Washington knows the truth, but nobody's going to do anything. Lyndon Johnson was a no-good SOB that visited this upon us. And from that day coming forward to the day with this clown we've got up there now, big-eared Barack, nobody has stepped forward and nobody has done what's right. The rule of law has been denied the crew of the USS Liberty. But I think at some point, sometime, the truth will come out. I've always believed in that old country saying, what goes around comes around. In Israel and its arrogance and the traitors that we have in Washington, they will all be held accountable in some capacity or the other. Deanna, I thank you for this program. I thank you for the opportunity to say something.
Well, thank you so much for contributing, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And absolutely.
I will get off here. Somebody else important may want to call in. Thank you, darling.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Phil, we're going to a break in about 1 minute. Do you have some comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I would, especially on Gary. He's past president of the association. He took over. My last term is my third term. And he's done very, very much for the USS Liberty. And what a lot of people don't know is Larry and his crew down in the boiler room, But I do mention this a lot. We're all heroes, and without those guys sticking at their grounds, staying at their duty stations with certain death coming their way with 5 torpedoes in the engine room, or the boiler room, you can imagine the horror and tension. But these men did not move an inch. They did their duty, and without them, our ship would have definitely went to the bottom. So my heartfelt thanks and admiration for all of the crew, but especially the men that exposed themselves in deep, deep, deep trouble, as Gary and his crewmen did.
Indeed. All righty. We are going to a 3-minute break. We'll be back, and when we come back, we'll talk to Dan Bird. Back in 3 minutes. This is Deanna. Our guest today is Philip F. Tourney. He is the author of What I Saw That Day, Israel's June 8th, 1967 Holocaust of U.S. servicemen aboard the USS Liberty and its aftermath. You can purchase that book at Amazon.com. The website that you'll want to visit is tinyurl.com/USS Liberty. And we have Dan on the phone. Dan.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to Kat Baber. I was in tears when Larry was talking. I'm a survivor of the USS Liberty, and it was like half an hour ago, and I couldn't compose myself, and Kat said, hang in there. She's a wonderful person, young person who understands Liberty, and thank you, Kat. And Phil, you and I have been friends forever. It's hard to stay away from the fact that you say what you saw in your book. I hate to say this, but what I smelled was worse. It was awful, absolutely terrifying. I'm still struck by what people say about the attack. I don't understand. People get closure in cases, murder cases, blah, blah, so on, so on. It's been 47 years. We have no closure. Hello?
Yes. Yes, you don't have any closure because the government will not recognize what it's done. And I think that, Phil, what do you think?
Well, I absolutely agree with Dan. The smell of death and fuel oil will never leave me. I can smell it right now. It's embedded in our minds and our thoughts. And Dan was a very good friend of mine aboard ship. We're still good friends now, very good friends. And we used to work out with a fellow that unfortunately was blown to bits, Philip Tahiki, in the weight room, and that's about the only guy that we got to know from the communications technicians. But that was good times for us to get in there and lift weights and let off a little steam and tell a few jokes. And I remember those good times, Dan. But the horrible times came June the 8th, and even more horrible times came after that. The nightmares, drinking too much, and blaming yourself, and all the other things that go along with PTSD, and it isn't our fault. And I finally learned that, and that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is to try to make sure, at least in my eyes, that it was never forgotten. And I always remember taking you back home to your home state when you got out of the Navy, and it was my honor to be with you then, Dan, and you're a great man and a great sailor and a brave man, and I can't say more about you than that.
Thank you, Phil. I do appreciate your comments. The thing that really bothers me the most is, you remember, you and I are about the same age. I grew up in a time where Audie Murphy, to hell and back, the glorified Army, wonderful experience, but yet our government left us behind. I have not been able to get over that. I put it beside myself for years. there isn't a day, and I hate to say this, but there isn't a day where there isn't a time I don't think about it. People say you can't say that. Well, I can, because there are fleeting moments every day where I think about it. Period.
I absolutely can. The government carries the full burden and weight of this atrocity, and how many other USS Liberties have happened that we don't know about, or ones that are going to come, and that's what we're trying to stop. We don't want to see any more USS Liberties, especially done by the hand of the Zionist State of Israel with the money that the United States of America gives them every day with your tax dollars.
Exactly.
All right, I'm done. I just wanted to call in. Really, the reason I call in every time I get a chance to call in is for what, Phil? To pay homage to whom? Those who died, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Danny. Take care, buddy.
You too.
Oh, all righty. Let's take Fred in Michigan. Fred, welcome. Fred.
Yes, I'm here. Good day.
Good day.
So, my contribution today is to recommend that everyone not only get Phil's book, but also Andrew Carrington Hitchcock's book, Synagogue of Satan, or even better, Tex Mars's Conspiracy of the Six-Pointed Star. And based on what I've read here, various prominent Jews are in league with people like Anton LaVey of the Church of Satan, some pyramid out in some valley, California valley, I don't know what, San Joaquin, whatever. One of the winemakers, let's see, I can't remember the guy's name, but anyhow, they Robert Mondavi, there we go, Opus 1, there we go. Robert Mondavi, Opus 1 pyramid is where Anton LaVey, whose real name is Levy. Okay? Anton Sandor Levy. So, we have that, then we have the Army Strategic, here, they did a study of the various military organizations, and the conclusion in their study, they evaluated the IDF, and they said that they have the capability to target American, here it is, September the 10th, 2001, Washington Times, Roland Scarborough, does this U.S. troops would enforce peace under Army study, focusing on the Army School of Advanced Military Studies, SAM. Of their Mossad evaluation, it says wild-card ruthless cunning, capability of targeting U.S. military and disguising it as a Palestinian Arab act. Well, that's what they attempted to do with the USS Liberty. So today, I started calling the VFW post, and believe it or not, Phil, I got through to an American Legion post, and the dear lady took all this information down about Europe Broadcasting, Deanna's, and Republic Broadcasting, etc. I called 3 other veterans posts, left the same intel with them. And I'm encouraging people to contact the congressman, as I am, and I'm going to ask them, like this guy Rogers in Michigan or anyone else, do they support Israel? Do they support what has been our return on investment of $3 trillion American taxpayer donations since its inception? Not to mention the magnanimous dual Israeli-American Dov Zakheim, who embezzled $3 trillion, including weaponry, when he was the Pentagon CFO and comptroller. Where is Dov Zakheim? Calling Dov Zakheim. Why don't we go track that scumbag and find out where the $2.5 trillion went? Somebody said, I think it was Cass Ingram. He's hiding out in Manhattan somewhere. But
sure.
Any congressman that is supporting Israel, here's what I'm saying. I'm organizing against you, scumbag, and I'm going to see to it that you go to prison for life for aiding and abetting the enemy within. What do you think of that?
Okay. Phil, what do you think?
I think that anybody that breaks the law and does certain things to this wonderful country, no matter what it is, if it is a crime, if they do the crime, they need to do the time. And you know, it's just not in America; it's infiltrated throughout the world, Australia, Europe, everywhere, and the Zionist regime has the power like none other. And folks, never forget it.
All righty. We have run out of time. I'm sorry, Stan White, that we did not take your call. Thank you so much, Phil, for being on the program today. And please, people, purchase his book.
Yeah, I'm so sorry Stan didn't get through either. He's a wonderful shipmate, E9 petty officer, one of the greatest men you'll ever meet in your life. Sorry you didn't get on, Stan. Bad on me.
Well, we'll just have to do this again, Phil.
Yeah. By the way, Deanna, you're a beautiful, wonderful, smart lady, and God bless you very much. Let's keep in touch.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Phil.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.